we are at the start of the Natchez Trace. This is the northern terminus. The next couple of days we'll be putting together episode 2 of our travels in full timing. Once we get that done, we'll continue working on capturing video for the full-length movie we hope to have together in November of traveling the Natchez Trace. Been a little warmer since we left Michigan. Hope everybody's doing fine back there. Hope everybody was able to see episode 1 without any problem.
We're looking forward to traveling the Trace once again. We always find something new and exciting to see, and we are going to thoroughly enjoy this beautiful weather that we're having now, and we'll be telling you more as we go down the Trace.
In Midland, Michigan, we took a ride on the Pierre Marquette Rail Trail that runs from the Tridge in downtown Midland to Clare. We rode out to Sanford and back, which is about 16 miles round trip. At Sanford, we ate at Alex's Railside Restaurant. At the Shepherd Maple Syrup Festival, Gloria and I hosted the second annual Great Lakes Converted Coaches Spring Rally. Although there are many things to see and do during the festival, pancake and sausage meals are certainly a favorite for most people. While I was getting some behind-the-scenes footage, I learned that it takes from 50 to 75 volunteers at any one time to make and serve the meals. During the course of the festival, over 500 volunteers will be involved with the pancake and sausage meals alone. At the festival, you can see model trains and big trains too. On Saturday, a passenger excursion train runs from Shepherd to Midland and back several times. Ray Kamer, the engineer, invited BBD RV Travel to ride along in the engine for the 1-hour round trip. Our first assignment after leaving Michigan was to explore Kentucky's Bourbon Trail. We visited 6 of Kentucky's leading bourbon distilleries and learned, right from the master distillers themselves, the history of bourbon in Kentucky and the fine art of bourbon production. Gloria received a personal lesson on bourbon tasting from Kevin Smith, master distiller in training at Maker's Mark.
Jimmy that now. This is called a whiskey thief, and it's like a big straw. Put your finger over the top of it, and it fills up with whiskey, and you pull it out. Oh, tragedy! Somewhere around 100 and maybe at this point about 12, 13 proof, because it's sitting up here in this heat and the water started evaporating out of that. Still some sour notes there. It's not picked a lot of the sweetness that's going to come over the next 4 years. It's going to be rough. Is it rough? Yeah, is right. That is
Yeah,
what.
yeah.
That's probably the best way to describe whiskey that's not ready. Is
Yeah.
and I mean, it doesn't take great expertise to know when it's immature.
Look for the release of a full feature video on the complete bourbon trail later this year.
Okay, what we do is we leave the tab out in case anyone ever wants to dip their own bottle.
Okay.
Your thumb goes on the back, your 4 fingers on the front. You're gonna dip it straight down into the pot to just about that little indentation in the bottle. When you bring it out, quickly turn it on its side, use your other hand to cradle it, give it a turn, and set it down.
More?
Yeah, that's good. Bring it back, give it that twirl, now set it down. Very good.
We then moved down to McMinnville, Tennessee for some planned maintenance on the bus. We stayed 3 nights at Terry Bennett's farm and shop. And so here we are back on the Natchez Trace Parkway. However, we're out of time for this episode. So as we get on down the road, stay tuned for episode 3 and more on the Natchez Trace.
Well, welcome to episode 3 of our traveling adventures. Hope you've been able to see episode 2. We are now at Banff National Park at the Canadian Rockies. We're camping out and kind of taking a break from full-time RVing to do a weekend of camping. And so we put the little dome tent in the tractor and we drove about 300 miles today through the different sections of the park and have had a lot of fun. What you'll see in episode 3 is our trip through a little bit of Natchez Trace, which seems like a very long time ago. We're going to be going through Natchitoches, Louisiana. We're going to take a train ride on the Royal Gorge route through the Royal Gorge. And then we're going to see a little bit of Soda Springs. And then, of course, you'll see a little bit of Banff, which we just completed today. By the time you see this, we may already be up or be back from Alaska because we're just about ready to take off on that trip. And so you may not be able to see much of us for the next several weeks.
See you later.
Since leaving Michigan this spring, we have traveled down the Natchez Trace, through Louisiana, visited our friend Greg in Texas, spent some time with my brother Scott in Pueblo West, Colorado, then traveled through Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana into Canada. We started down the Natchez Trace Parkway in Nashville, Tennessee. Here at the home of the country music, new skyscrapers contrast the restored buildings of the historic warehouse district along the Cumberland River. Modern tugboats and barges have replaced the old flatboats used by the early settlers to transport their goods to Natchez and beyond. The Natchez Trace Parkway is a 455-mile-long national park extending from Nashville, Tennessee to Natchez, Mississippi as one continuous roadway, often referred to as the Ribbon of Green. Many hiking trails allow you to get out of your vehicle and get close to nature. Here, Gloria gets refreshed at Fall Hollow Waterfall. Although many are familiar with the part Captain Meriwether Lewis played in exploring the West, the Pacific Ocean, most do not realize he met his death under mysterious circumstances here at Grinders Inn along the Trace in 1809. Trace Road was all but forgotten by the days of the Civil War. Even so, 13 unknown Confederate soldiers are buried right next to the old path. We always stop to contemplate their fate along this lonely trail. Another one of our favorite walks is the trail through the cypress swamp near Jackson, Mississippi. Don't worry though, it's too far north for alligators. Of course you've heard of a church mouse, but a church snake? At Rocky Spring Church, built in 1860, we encounter Gloria's favorite reptile. The Natchez Trace was also called the Devil's Backbone. Travelers walking north after selling their valuable cargoes in Natchez or New Orleans were easy prey along this lonely section of the trace. At Mount Locust, Ranger Eric Chamberlain gave us an interview for our upcoming feature video, Traveling the Devil's Backbone.
Folks, welcome to Mount Locust. I'm Ranger Rick Chamberlain. The Park Service designated the Natchez Trace as a national park in 1937. They started buying land in the domain from Natchez to Nashville. Today, the Natchez Trace is 59,000 acres of land stretching from Natchez to Nashville with a road running right down the middle of it, called the Ribbon of Green. As you drive along and see houses on both sides, that's private property going for a minimum of 200 feet on each side of the trace, which is trace property. Here at Mount Locust, they bought 70 acres from my grandmother in 1937, and she moved back behind the cemetery and built her home, and that's where I live today. But the family lived here, my family lived here from 1779 to 1944, 5 generations of the family. I was born in the room on the end in 1940. My father was born in that room, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, built with my great-great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandmother lived here and shared the girls' room with our granddaughters. We lived here from 1779 to 1944.
Notice anything interesting about this headstone? As we travel through Louisiana, we discover Natchitoches. This is the oldest settlement in what was the Louisiana Territory, established in 1714. Natchitoches has the charm of the old French Quarter in New Orleans without the large urban city surrounding it.
Square. Y'all want to see
We were given a personal tour of a townhouse that you can rent a room in and stay with other guests for a very reasonable rate. We will surely stop here again soon and include a feature in a future video magazine issue. While we were in the Canyon City area of Colorado, we took a ride on the Royal Gorge Route Railroad. This scenic excursion train travels up the Royal Gorge along the Arkansas River, passing under the Royal Gorge Bridge. Watch for a full feature of this great train ride in one of our upcoming video magazine issues. During our trip through Idaho, we stopped in Soda Springs. This is the location of the only man-made geyser in the world. While drilling for a hot water source for a swimming pool, the drill struck the geyser source at 315 feet. A timer and control valve releases the geyser every hour on the half hour. I wish we had more time to show you more of Lake Louise. Or the wonderful waterfalls. In Jasper National Park, we took a snow coach excursion up onto the Athabasca Glacier.
How's everybody doing today? Good. My name's Monica. I'm actually your tour guide and bus driver for the next half an hour, 45 minutes. Alright, so what happened there was I pushed the six-wheel drive, so all tires are now turning at the same time at the same speed. And I pushed a transmission lockup, which means that the transmission is only going at one speed the whole time down. So we do not have to worry on going down the hill.
We saw more wildlife here than in any other place we've been so far. A future issue of DVD RV Travel will be completely devoted to the Canadian Rockies.
Hello, welcome to episode 4. In a few moments, Steve is going to be telling you what you're going to be seeing on episode 4. We have been gone for 5 months now, and we are looking forward to getting back to Michigan and working on producing some videos and some articles.
Hope you were able to see and enjoy episode 3. We are going to bring you a little bit of our travels in the last month and a half, 2 months. We're going to give you a little bit about our Alaska trip. We'll be visiting Cape Disappointment in Washington. Then we're going to take a little float trip down the Missouri headwaters. We're going to travel through the gates of the mountains as Lewis and Clark did on a boat trip. And then we're going to travel to Theodore Roosevelt National Park, where we'll do a pitchfork fondue and visit some of the sites there. And finally, we'll be wrapping up at Union Station, which, as you can tell, it's in St. Louis. It's directly behind us, about a mile from where we're sitting right now. And we'll be visiting a little bit at Union Station and St. Louis area. Hope you have a chance to visit the website often, and we're looking forward to producing the Natchez Trace video. That should be out in a couple of weeks. And looking forward to seeing everybody back in Michigan again. Take care.
We'll see you all soon.
After visiting the Canadian Rockies, we went through Calgary and Edmonton on our way to Dawson Creek and the rendezvous with our Alaska caravan. While in Seward, Alaska, we enjoyed a dinner cruise in the Kenai Ford National Park. While waiting in line to board our vessel, we were entertained by local inhabitants.